Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing a very interesting show that was a part of my childhood. However, in this video I shall be joined by a very special guest. Say hello to a very good friend of mine, HexdePixel.
Hello there, my name's HexdePixel and I'm a guy who lives in Sweden. I plan to start a YouTube channel soon, focusing on internet communities and content. However, I haven't started just yet. I'm very glad to be here on the Soapy Bubbles channel. Thank you for having me.
I plan on making more videos in the future with Hexde, so don't be surprised if you see him appear on the channel often. As he also plans on making his own channel at some point in the near future, don't expect these sprites of him to stay around for long. Now with introductions out of the way, on with the review.
Numberjacks are on their way. Numberjacks are on their way.
Numberjacks was a British children's television show that originally ran from 2006 to 2009. The focus of the show was teaching infants mathematics, using sums involving fantastical situations caused by the antagonists, the Meanies. These Meanies include the Shape Japer, the Problem Blob, the Puzzler, the Number Taker, and Spooky Spoon. The main protagonists of the show are a group of heroes called the Numberjacks, a group of anthropomorphic numbers from 0 to 9. The show continues to air on British channels and is watched on YouTube by an audience who is probably too young to have access to the internet.
You know, they raise a good point. Is Numberjacks real?
The show is often remembered and recounted by many British people, however it's not always remembered fondly.
The titular Numberjacks live in a giant superhero lair inside of a sofa, and on a call from a live-action human child, a few of them leave to solve issues caused by the Meanies. There are subtle nods to maths in the characters, such as 4 viewing 8 as some kind of older brother figure, and 9 being more parental as she is the largest number out of all of them, and having a particular fondness for 3.
I remember watching Numberjacks at a very young age. I already knew basic maths, so I just watched the show because I liked the bright colours and found the animation somewhat engaging. Every episode there was a new scenario, and it was fun trying to solve the problems in my head before they were revealed. However, I didn't always find the show enjoyable to watch.
When I was but a small child living in the steaming brown puddle that is sometimes referred to as Southeast Asia, where the internet speed is outpaced by carrier pigeon, I would often spend my days on the couch indulging in only the very best that television had to offer, CBeebies. Little brother to the CBBC, this is one of only 2 British public services where being on crack makes you a valuable staff member, the other being the NHS.
Ah, CBeebies, the stuff of nightmares. I remember thinking CBBC was like the big boy channel when I was like 5.
Among the many cultured programmes available on this bastion of UK media was a weird show about talking numbers who lived in some guy's couch. I thought the premise was interesting but also a bit silly, and I wasn't the greatest fan of the animation. But now, I can gladly join the thousands of Brits who hail Numberjacks as a pioneer in its field for successfully managing to capture on film the sensation of a fever dream.
I don't know about you, Hex, but some aspects of this show scared the ever-loving shit out of me as a kid. I remember the Number Taker always scaring the living daylights out of me, to the point where I straight up refused to watch the episodes with him in it. I mean, look at him. He's a menace.
I didn't think much of it at the time, but yeah, come on, this man is on a register somewhere. Not Ross Mullan, the guy who plays him. He's doing well as an actor, and I'm sure he's an upstanding individual. I mean the Number Taker, because as we all know, Numberjacks is real.
I don't even know what really scared me about him as a kid. Maybe it's the weird exaggerated silhouette caused by his clothing, the unusual way he glides around, or his unchanging, blank, soulless expression. No wonder Big Man Mullan went on to play the White Walkers in Game of Thrones. He's a terrifying man. His name is also apparently a pun on The Undertaker, as in the wrestler.
And there was that pink spoon bitch, what was her name? Oh yeah, Spooky Spoon, whose animation is about on par with an Uncanny Valley 3D animated shitpost I'd see in my recommended at 2 AM. She didn't make me scared so much as she made me want to beat her to a pulp with how annoying she was. Like, her voice actor must have either found voicing her really fun or the worst thing she has ever had to do, full stop.
Unfortunately, I wasn't the only one who was scared by Numberjacks as a kid. It appears that no matter on what video I go on about the Numberjacks that allows comments, someone's always saying that this show scared them as a child. This leads me to only one conclusion. Numberjacks is actually a psychological horror with Lovecraftian beasts as its villains. This is actually a fantasy world created by a neckbeard represented by the Puzzler.
Consider this. Why is everything in the Numberjacks universe so illogical? People and objects drop places or disappear in complete violation of the laws of physics, and yet no one seems to treat this as being any worse than a minor inconvenience. The people of this world have grown accustomed to being toyed with by eldritch powers beyond their comprehension. This represents how the mind of the neckbeard is torn asunder by his many mental illnesses, twisting his thoughts into horrible abominations. This is where the Numberjacks find their purpose. Numbers are logical and unchanging, and the Numberjacks have sworn themselves to defending the world against the forces of evil, even if they must die for their cause. This represents the last lingering vestiges of sanity in the neckbeard's mind, trying desperately to save him from the abyss he has dug for himself.
In reality, the Puzzler is a man named Jonathan H. Pazell, a German-Slovakian born in Dresden in 1971. When he was 2 years old, his family escaped to West Berlin and emigrated to Slough in Berkshire, England. Each villain represents a negative aspect of himself. The Puzzler represents his warped perception of himself as he has stopped taking care of his appearance and has reduced himself to being a neckbeard. The Shapejaper represents his mistress, with whom he had a love triangle with. His wife, represented by the screaming pink Spooky Spoon. Spooky Spoon also represents the heroin spoon he uses to cope with his losses. The Number Taker represents CPS, who in taking away his children, triggered the psychotic breakdown which is represented in Numberjacks. His children are represented by 0, 1 and 2, the youngest characters who are seldom seen. The Problem Blob represents his disgust with himself, spitting repulsive green goo and watching him judgmentally. The villains all turn Mr. Pazell's internal world upside down, leaving him to try and piece it back together. The Brain Gain Machine represents his attempts to defeat his mental illness with facts and logic. However, this proves ineffective as his inner demons continue to torment him up until his death in 2015.
Numberjacks isn't inherently a bad show. However, its imagery and presentation are uncanny and inappropriate for the audience of young children. It unfortunately was not uncommon for the time. Numberjacks may have been intended to teach maths, however, it is perhaps better suited to teaching how to scare the shit out of toddlers.
Thank you for helping me make this video, Hexde. I appreciate your input a lot, and it was a lot of fun creating this. I wish you luck in your future endeavours, and you're also welcome to return to the channel at any time. And as always, April Fools.